This is cool. Ooh, it's a spooky one. Whoa. Okay, I got to read this because it's a little bit long. So Nick Pope in real life is an X-Files guy, but he was way more grounded. Back in the 90s, while most folks were binging sci-fi, he was running the British Military of Defense's UFO desk. For 3 years, he dug through sightings, radar hits, pilot reports, checking to see if any of it threatened national security. He found stuff that didn't fit the weather balloon box, and he didn't just file reports. He wrote the book, literally. Open Skies, Closed Minds is the book he wrote, which laid out firsthand what he saw with no hype on it. And then came Encounter in Rendlesham Forest, where he teamed up with the witnesses to unpack Britain's biggest UFO case. But he's co-hosted Ancient Aliens, toured the USA with the crew, and he was even on New York Post breakdowns when they asked for expert opinions. But Nick has never chased fame, and he's always chased truth, and he's always been quietly professional I've been following him for at least 20 years, at least 20. So when he was on the UF desk, this is something most people don't know. He helped kids with school projects and sent them real declassified bits of information. So he gave them, even high school kids, he gave them the truth. But he once crafted a fake alien invasion war plan for a video game promo, and it was based on actual Iraq documents and what he knew as an insider. And it fooled so many people that it sparked all kinds of wild theories and everything. But he stayed dead serious about it, even though it was a joke, just to get everybody to go along on the prank. And the way he is with his demeanor, he could pull it off really good. But he can blend humor with hard facts. And what he did throughout the whole UFO thing with disclosure and everything is really important, because he was one of the first ones that came out and was actually talking about things from a government. So he pushed disclosure without drama is how I got it written down. But because of him, millions now ask better questions. And the reason I brought that up is because he is just been diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So everything that he's done, this is kind of like a thing to him. And I got a hold of him because usually if I had a question about like plasma or anything like that, he wouldn't give me an answer, but he would send me links of where to go to find out what I wanted without telling me any kind of information. So I asked him if I could do this today, and he gave me permission to do it so that I could, out of respect for him, that I could talk about him today. So this is just a little clip about Nick for people that don't know who he is.
Those of you who may not know me, I previously worked at the United Kingdom's Ministry of Defence, where I was responsible for researching and investigating reports of unidentified anomalous phenomena, what many people refer to as UFOs. My role required careful analysis, objectivity, and an understanding that sometimes the most important questions are the ones we cannot immediately answer. Today, we find ourselves living in a remarkable moment in human history. For decades, the subject of UFOs existed largely on the fringes, dismissed, misunderstood, or confined to speculation and science fiction. But that has changed. Governments have acknowledged that unidentified objects exist in our skies that cannot always be easily explained. Military personnel have come forward with credible testimony. Scientists have begun to take the subject seriously, not as a matter of belief, but as a matter worthy of investigation. This shift represents something profound. It represents a willingness to confront uncertainty. It represents a recognition that our understanding of the universe is still incomplete. And perhaps most importantly, it represents the enduring human instinct to explore, to look up at the sky and ask, what else is out there? But this journey of discovery isn't limited to governments, scientists, or military institutions. It belongs to all of us. You know, I left the Ministry of Defense in 2006, but the Official Secrets Act binds me for life. But some years ago, the British government declassified and released about 60,000 pages of documents on UFOs and sent them to the National Archives, and many of those documents I wrote. So my name is in the public domain. It's a matter of public record that I did this job for the government.
So everything that he's done is, basically all the reports he wrote and everything are declassified, which is bringing us into Chris Bledsoe. So all the stuff with Chris Bledsoe, we talked about it, what was it, 2 weeks ago or a week ago, about the lady and the orbs. But we were talking about Easter Sunday, when the Star Regulus will go from blue to red and then align up with the Sphinx on Easter Sunday this year, April of 2026, and that we're supposed to get some type of a new knowledge. And that's what he's saying. But this is where we go. This is about Chris Bledsoe, and it'll all tie in when we're done.
So I roll over. Now I'm looking this way, and behind me there's no cow anymore. There's a woman there. She's about 3 feet off the ground. She's glowing just the color of the moon. There's a circle of light on the ground. And she looks at me and she says, "You know why I'm here?" And I knew I was crushed, basically, because I'd had this overwhelming desire to tell the world what I'd seen. And then that night I cursed at the heavens and said, "I'm never doing that. I'll never speak again." And now she's like, "You know why I'm here? This is your burden you must bear." She said that. She said, "If you'll tell this story, I'll always be with you. I'll allow you to share our presence with others and film us. So help me. I never had a picture of anything for the previous 5 years. Only inside the house would people see this, or out in my children. Now everybody's coming to the house, and it appears overhead. It appears around us. And it's greater today than it was then. And magic started happening. And when that word got out, then comes this government. They want to know about this lady.
I have questions.
Okay.
So the initial, what was it that you were handed?
I've been asked that a million times. I don't know. It was like a living creature.
It was living. It was moving around.
But it had no head or legs. It felt like if you had a squirrel in your hand or a hedgehog, that prickly. It felt like it was living, but it had no head or tail. And I asked the lady what this was, and she told me it was symbolic of humanity, had lost its direction. We've been taught that it's evil, that it's got to be demonic. And I'm here to tell you that's not what's happened to me. And it's still here, and I've shared it with thousands of people. To accept that it's real and open your heart and love and caring for your friends and family. That type of energy coming from you is what causes it. If you walk out there skeptic, oh, blah, blah, you can take a hike. You're not going to see anything. I've been saying the whole time that these orbs are going to come and wake us up. And I even gave specific times that when that might happen, and that's when you see war between Israel and Iran. I put that in the book. So what Bertie was saying about their alarm, they are really alarmed. The orbs, to me, they're angels to me. They're biblical, just like you said, Jim. They're magical beings. They don't breed like humans. They were created. They listen to our thoughts. I interact with them every day of my life and have literally tens of thousands of bits of data and information from them. And when I interact with them, they're speaking to me. How do you get them to come? Because they listen to me and they send information. So I knew this time was coming. I know a lot about drones because I'm a drone pilot and I'm also a commercial pilot. And I can tell you there's a Remote ID Act that was passed by the federal government that says all toy airplanes, even models, if it's a half a pound or more, it has to have, it's got to be 0.55 pounds, just a little more than a half. You have to have a transponder on them to fly toy airplanes. So none of these are civilians. For one, civilian drones can't see in the dark unless it's got a FLIR camera, and that would usually be the fire departments or whatever. Also, I do know that a friend of mine in New Jersey called me, told me that he filmed the drone, one of these drones, minivan-sized drones, fly over his house. He's shown a laser on it, and in 30 minutes, the FBI knocked on his door and said, "We know you did it, and if you do it again, we'll put you in jail." Yesterday, I was called by someone in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, that there was one of those same drones running a grid over Chapel Hill with a Black Hawk helicopter right behind it with its lights out. So yeah, the military, whatever they're doing, the drones, the orbs are coming on high alert. It's just like the Foo Fighters in World War II. When the fighters were going into Germany, these orbs were beside them. So it's just my opinion that the orbs are on high alert, that whatever the drones are doing, I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're looking for something, sniffing for nuclear material. That would clearly explain why the orbs are coming in great numbers. And they're not going to stop. They're going to keep coming until everyone understands that we're.
So the reason why I brought that up, this guy is super, super credible. He's been doing this since 2012. None of this is recent. He wrote a book years ago about what would happen between Iran and Israel, and that orbs would be seen in great numbers and everything. And you remember during the New Jersey drone stuff, there was a lot of question about whether those were drones, were they orbs or whatever. I know personally I've seen stuff when they were orbs. There was no way that it was a drone. If you used binoculars and you looked at it, you could see that it almost looked like a living plasma. It would pulsate and it looked like. Huh?
Can you explain what the orb is? Because I think that's so confusing to people. Because really, we don't know really what it is, right?
I've got a picture to show you. So this is real quick. It's not long, but it'll show you what he filmed and that what most people see. See, that was the one that he filmed, and it showed like there was actually something written in it. The ones I've seen, if you look at them, they bounce all over the place and everything, but they almost like, what do you call that? Where it looks different colors, where it'll look like purple, blue, or green like that. It like looks like different colors, but you'll actually see it like pulsating. So it's some type of a plasma. Now the military they do have weaponry, and what it is, they've I got to slow down. They've inserted DNA into these things. So they're actual type of life form with some intelligence. So they can go direction. They can go left, right, up, down, all over the place. The one he filmed actually had some type of a message in it. What he said he's seen is a woman that shows up in these orbs. And when you go through the Bible, there's stories too of things that were seen in the sky. And if you look at like medieval paintings and stuff, they have things that are in the sky. But you wonder if it's because the people then had no comprehensive way to explain exactly what they were seeing. So all this disclosure comes out, and it starts tying into all these researchers that came up missing now too. So there's quite a few of them. Tim Burchett, we played the clip where he said, that he's not suicidal, and that, there's something actually going on.
And the ones that have disappeared, right? The
ones that have disappeared. And then on top of that, there has been rumors for years that even Werner von Braun said it, that the last psyop the government would try to pull on us would be that we're being invaded by aliens, basically. But Tim Bledsoe went back to 2012. I'll go back to that. He's always had the spiritual element with everything that's been coming in. Now, Nick Pope has always done more an investigative, like as from a military point of view with national security. So nobody really knows the answer to what anything is. But if you've ever seen one of the real orbs, I don't think you would think it's military just because of the way it acts and the characteristics of it.
What?
Now, I know you said you saw stuff in Jersey, Sean.
Yeah, but what actually is the orb? Like, is it
Energy.
It's a free-based energy, like I said, and the military, I know for a fact, has done DNA into them, and they've made them like more of a actual life force, so they can carry information because it is like a plasma. So he's saying all these orbs are going to come up, during this war and everything, and then you have Easter Sunday. We have that Regulus star coming into the Sphinx, where we're going to have new knowledge. Then this is the crazy one. This is Matt Gaetz. I know people in the chat are already talking about it, but some of this has got some truth to it.
I think the most important information will be the biologics that are not human that have been discovered. And like even some of the briefings that aren't classified just need to be out in the public. I mean, I had someone come and brief me who was in a military uniform, worked for the United States Army, that was briefing me on the locations of hybrid breeding programs where captured aliens were breeding with humans to create some hybrid race that could engage in intergalactic communication. An actual uniformed member of the United States Army briefed me on that.
Non-human biologics.
Okay, now I'm going to stop.
Can I interrupt 1 minute?
Sure.
What Matt is saying is not crazy. It's not. It could be believable. Put it that way, because of what the situations, because of the sightings other people have seen. Now, there's actual photographers out there that could actually take a picture of you and see the orbs around you as a person, which they are. I'm trying to explain regular terminology because sometimes you just take off in space lane there, honey. But what happens is everybody has these orbs of energy around them, all different colors. And each one of these orbs are explaining parts of your body, which you have to know what the signals are. And there's actually cameras that do that. In fact, I have a camera here that you would actually see orbs. And if you would expand the orbs and open up the orbs, you could actually see a face inside of them.
Yes, I have them too. Where I seen an orb, it's a man's face, a woman's face, and a dog all in one.
Finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sit back and relax. Make believe you
Go
have.
ahead, great. Go ahead, great. Wait. Go ahead, great explainer. I can't understand a word he's explaining, Trey.
I know, now he's trying to translate me, so go ahead.
No, I'm trying to come. Well, you didn't explain about orbs, did you?
I was getting there.
Oh, you want to find out slow you down. You like take off. You're like on the express train.
Go ahead.
Oh, she's got a lot of knowledge. She's excited about this subject, George. You know,
I am too, because that's how we communicate. Believe it or not.
Not you and I. You're talking about everybody.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish, George. I got all day.
No, it's okay. I'm done. I just want to explain about the orbs, what they're talking about.
So
the energy that everybody has around them, and it's negative energy, positive energy, and stuff like that. That you have to understand what they are.
Yeah,
and it's everybody's born with them. It's not that everybody's. God does a lot of stuff to protect his souls that we have.
Yeah, so
we're constantly attacked and stuff. So I mean, these are all. But what Matt says, it's not far from it. If the aliens are, you'd be surprised. I think half of the Republicans are fucking aliens. That's what I think.
Well, I want to go back to the orbs.
Go back to
look at, if you look, energy is never destroyed. Energy only transforms. All right. So let's say string theory has proven that there's multiple dimensions in our world. So you can't dismiss the orbs, because the orbs could be just another form of like us. We're we're energy in a physical body to experience life here. So how can you say that another dimension isn't the same energy? Like what I don't want to say soul, but there is a life force in everybody. So who's to say that life force doesn't go into another dimension as just pure energy? When you go to heaven, what does the Bible say? The Bible says you will recognize your family members, but yet you're not going to have a body. So it would have to be some sort of recognition from that feel of the energy that you would know that,
Like an orb.
that person is. Yeah. So these orbs, back in when all this stuff was going on with the drones in New Jersey, if you remember, there were orbs sighted all over the place. And then there were the drones. And that's where the mix-up came in. People were saying, no, it's a drone. Other people were saying, no, it's an orb. But if you've seen the orbs, you would know. All right. So then you get to the point where the seraphim in the Bible, they were always described as a wheel within a wheel with fire. So that orb could actually fit that description, because if when you see the plasma, it like interacts, it moves, it waves, and it changes different colors. All right, go ahead, George.
An orb is a globe-shaped object often used in literary content to describe heavenly bodies like the sun or the moon, or to refer to a ceremonial ball of symbolizing power. In photography, orbs appear as circles of light, often interpreted as spiritual phenomena. True technology, like the cameras I was talking about, they are frequently caused by light reflections or for airborne dust or moisture. So they said paranormal, other descriptions of spiritual loved ones or angels captured in photos with colors of like white, blue, and green. The colors represent certain stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, astronomy are used to describe the sun, the globe orb of the moon, ceremony globe, and they have, and actually, but again, these things are brought upon us for, for having positive things around us. So that's what.
Yeah, and the orbs, when they do come in, they don't just fall. Now, what George was talking about, where you're going to see like dust in your lens or anything on a camera, it will always go one way. When you know it's an orb is when you see something like that. You won't see it with your naked eye most of the time, but you will see it with the lens on, like on your camera or anything. But it will change direction. It'll come in, it'll go up, and everything. Dust doesn't act that way, so you know what you're seeing at that point is an orb, and you'll see them on film. You'll see them outside. So all these orbs are supposedly coming in more and more and more. So it gives a lot of credibility to what Chris Bledsoe says. We're going to know how much he's full of it or not on Easter Sunday about the new knowledge. But it wouldn't surprise me with the government saying that we're going to have a false alien invasion. I believe they would pull that off. I really do. But then you look at some of the stuff that's been happening, and everybody's getting, not everybody, but a majority of people are really ramping up their spirituality in the last couple years. So who's to say that these orbs really aren't, of a religious nature coming in, trying to stop us or bring attention to everything that's going on in the world? Because we always go back to a holy war. It's always good versus evil. And it's always been that way. So I wanted to bring attention to the orbs that way, as more of a spiritual nature on it and not military. So and it all kind of ties in.
You look at the way society is now. I mean, you look at Hollywood, you look at all this stuff, like with transitioning and all this crazy stuff, and how it's getting like I almost want to say it's like a status symbol anymore with people. And I think maybe that's why spiritual orbs are coming around now. Maybe that could be it, right?
Mm-hmm. You can go back to as far as the 10 Commandments. All right. It was
15, but he dropped it.
Well, the 10 Commandments, when it was burned into stone, and Moses carried them out, he met the burning bush, which was a form of energy and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So now it's possible that the power that he had, but the 10 Commandments were to control, not really control, but to make
behavior.
For behavior, because the first commandments, they shall not other gods before me, and then it said The second one, the most important, was honor thy father and thy mother. And they kept on going to stealing and everything else. But just imagine if those 10 commandments weren't put in place, how bad would the world be? Because you could kill anybody, you don't have to worry about being prosecuted. I mean, they're doing it now.
No repercussions.
Right. And I think that was done for that reason.
Wait. Say you could kill anybody. What were you?
I'm saying if it wasn't for the 10 commandments, people would go out and kill anybody because you don't feel like you're going to get punished by God, right? Or stealing. Right? You'll think it's twice to steal something because you would feel guilty. This is how we were brought up with our family. And that's why it was so important about the God being in schools and the readings and all that stuff in the schools, is to produce the children to believe in something. Because what happens is you're talking about it'll go more control than what it is now. Look at them. They're like Muslims don't believe in the 10 commandments, right? They'll kill anybody. They got to do that. They got to do their thing, so they don't care. But we care because we were raised on the 10 commandments, from our family and going to church. And even the Jewish people had the Torah, which had the laws for the Jewish people to follow. I mean, they go, goes back as a long time. And the reason why they couldn't have, with the law was brought up about the eating the types of food to eat, because the milk couldn't be in the same bowl because of they could have got really sick with the combination. That's why they had to fast certain times and stuff like that. All those things were.
Yeah, I want to go back to orbs when you're done, though.
Yeah, but it's fine. But I'm talking about, it could have been an orb that blew the numbers.
Yeah, I want like the orbs, the explanation in the Bible of the angels of a seraphim was just exactly almost the same thing as an orb. It was a ball of light, and sometimes it would have tentacles on it, but it was a wheel within a wheel, is what they said in Ezekiel. So things in the Bible, when they would say cloud, weren't necessarily cloud either. There was a mistranslation when they were actually doing the Bible. So sometimes when you saw a cloud in the Bible, it didn't mean cloud. It meant like a puff of air, something that was more physical than up in the sky, but it was physical in front of you. And like they said with the angel Gabriel, when they came to the Virgin Mary, all of them were being of light. So when you look at an orb, what is an orb? An orb is a light that actually acts like it has some sort of intelligence or some kind of a life form to it, because it does do directional things. But like what George was saying about the colors, a lot of people believe in the different colors meaning different things just because there are cameras that can pick up your aura. If you look at a human being underneath those certain cameras, you'll have a blue aura or a red aura. And supposedly the different colors of the aura reflect how you are spiritually. So the higher realm you are spiritually, like the brighter color or more towards blue you will be. So then we come back to Iran and Iraq. Chris Bledsoe always takes the spirituality way of it. He says the lady, he won't say the Virgin Mary or anything like that. He says the lady. But then when you go back to like Portugal, when the Virgin Mary was seen, she came down as they said it looked like the sun. It looked like the sun came down and then bounced back up. Okay. So all these things tie into more spirit, in my opinion. I'm going to say it, in my opinion, tie more into spirituality than they would do something like an alien. But so it depends on where your mindset is and how you're looking at these things. But it's awful odd that everybody's seeing these things more and more and more as the world is getting worse and worse and worse. So that's why I would lean towards more spirituality rather than anything.
That's why that song came out. Aurora, Aurora.
Yeah. So that's how our whole wormhole is today. So if you do believe everything that's going on in the Middle East is a holy war, all this stuff does make a lot of sense.
It's a holy war.
I know.
We have a holy war right here. Are you kidding me?
That's my summation of my whole little presentation here is that it is a holy war. It's a spiritual realm, in my opinion, that's coming here to warn us. And I believe Chris Bledsoe when he says about that it will be something like that stops war on our planet. because everything we do reverberates throughout the universe. So if there is other life in the universe, it knows what we're doing, and it's going to make a tear in the fabric of the universe if we use a nuclear weapon. So I think they're very in on it. I can't see why they wouldn't be. But none of the orbs have ever harmed anybody. You got to look at it that way too. There's never been an orb that's come in.
Some orbs have some evil faces in it too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because there are demons. If you believe it's a holy war, there's some that have to be demons. Exactly.
Well, I showed you. What about that when I posted that photo of when we burned the flag? You saw the devil in it.
Yeah, that was in the flames. Yeah, you see that. So that isn't. Energy just doesn't die. You know that, George, being an electrician. Energy only transforms. It never dies.
I know that shit.
Yeah.
George felt it.
I got hurt by
George felt it a few times.
Yeah. All of a sudden, it changed my mind a lot of things. Don't touch this.
Yeah, don't touch electrical wires in a 50-year-old house when they look all
be easy.
Yeah. So I hope you guys liked it. I tried to really tie it all together because it's relevant to today. So I guess if I had one like I've seen.
If you need any explanation, contact Trixie directly.
She'll give you the knowledge in her opinion.
But see, this is all stuff that I've been doing since 1993, so I follow it. So I
think it was good. I got a better understanding about the orbs. I think that was very good today.
It's unbelievable to have special photographers that come out with their cameras to take photos of people where you see different. I gotta see. God, let me find my daughter went to one.
I know which picture you're talking about.
Hey, that would be a good thing to take pictures of people. If anybody has a ability to do that when we do the meetup and see what kind of orbs are around them.
My cameras.
Yeah, if you have something, bring it. That would be cool.
Well, this stuff.
Or we can get Mark to buy one. Mark will buy one.
No, but like if you use a FLIR camera, you will see things like that. Just like George and I were talking about, like the Tesla cars, when because it's energy, it picks up a heat signature. So you will see like ghosts in a cemetery and things like that because it's a different.
Oh, we did that cemetery, that African American cemetery. Well, veterans in it. I took pictures. Everybody thought it was nuts. And then I took the pictures. You'd see stuff.
But it is. I mean, that's my firm belief. Now, I've kicked this around with Tony Schaefer a couple times about the plasma stuff because he does know some about the weaponry. And he wouldn't tell me yes or no, but he said I was on the right track. The same thing with Nick Pope. And Nick Pope, the stuff that's declassified, you can kind of figure it out for yourself. But I've always been really super interested in this stuff because it is relevant. And I've always looked at it at the spiritual way, though, not so much as weaponry. But, the government, when they find anything that they can use as a weapon, they're going to do it. So the holy war thing, the orbs, it all ties together.
Either one of those two would be a great guest. Either one.
Nick won't come on. He's to the point where he wouldn't even give me a written comment because he said he's beyond exhausted. The interview that I showed of him was last month, and you can see how bad he's doing. So I don't want to say anything bad. I mean, he's just very, 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 very ill.
Tell him George will make him an offer he can't refuse. George will show him all about his orbs if you don't come on.
Yeah, it's like right around my hands.
Yeah, but if you believe it, and like I said, energy does not die. Energy only can transform, and it ties back into Tartaria also about energy from the ether. So all that comes down and it conducts through copper, which copper is a good.
Great job, Trixie. Mark is much in there. Great job, Trixie.
Oh, well, thank you. I just enjoy this stuff so much. I'm into the paranormal, but I don't really think this is paranormal.
Wait, let me download this photo. It's my daughter with that woman that took the.
I just try to be normal. I'm not paranormal.
It's interesting, when you start really getting into it because all the things you can tie in together with it.
Hold on.
So I'll put Wormhole up today on Rumble later on this afternoon. I clip that section out of the show usually and put it as a separate thing.
Yeah, here's a photo. Here's a photo right here. Put this photo up.
Oh yeah, you can see which is a lens flare. So the blue in the center would be a lens flare. The other part above that would
There,
be the
there was,
orb.
there was another photo. She had like hundreds of them all around her.
Mhm.
Yeah, right now.
I've got video where you could see him coming in and then flying up, and then I've got one video, and I swear to God, I got to find it. It looks like a freaking fairy. It
Wow.
in the video, it shoots down and then it goes back up, and you can actually see like a wing structure on the back of it. And anybody in the chat, no, it's not a freaking insect. It's not an insect that came too close to the camera. I've been doing this a long time. I kind of, you know what's an anomaly and what isn't. But like this, you can tell the lens flares in the center, then the top is an orb. The red with the yellow in the center is an orb, and so is the red along the bottom. But that's how Chris Bledsoe said that being came to him in an orb that way, and then looked like a circle of light on the ground and came up through that. But if the person wasn't in detail, it was like a shadow person, an outline with like just energy light in it. And that's how the angels were described. And then in Ezekiel, it was the same thing. The seraphim came as like a circle like that with a little bit of tentacles on them as a ball of fire. So if you're in the old days, how would they say it was a being of light? They would say it was fire because it glowed or it was bright. So, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna share some other ones. They're pretty good.
Well, how about if I play Tim Burchett what he said, because this one, this came out. It's a minute. It's short.
You're telling me that right after President Trump said to declassify all the UFO stuff, that the UFO experts that you have personal knowledge of and that you have personal connection to, they've gone missing or wound up dead?
Well, one did, the one everybody's looking for, and it's pretty. Yeah, I don't know the circumstances. He left with a 38 in his holster, and you're never going to convince me otherwise. I don't care what they find. I don't care what they find at this point. My wife said it the other day, how does somebody disappear in this day and age? How do they disappear?
So it looks like
I just think there's a lot going on. We got to get to the bottom of it. And and I talked to the president about that. He asked me what I thought, and I said, Mr. President, I think it's like an onion. You just keep peeling it back. There's that lady right there. She had metallurgical knowledge, some of our missiles and stuff, and it's just too much, Benny. Too much is.
It is. I know you got to leave, Sean, but what Tim Burchett is saying too is the military will co-opt anything they can like that. So if you think about Project Bluebeam, I can understand why these scientists would come up missing, because they would be able to say whether it was really something from the military or not. So it's dark, but I like the spirituality part of it better.
Yeah, that's weird. That's another story that kind of stopped. I mean, these missing scientists, right? That nobody's talking about it.
Well, some of the this is some of the gross stuff they're doing in science. These are human bodies. They're growing headless human bodies to harvest organs for research, because Trump did phase out the animal experimentation. So it says if we can create non-sentient headless bioids for a human being, it's a great source of organs, and that's from an investor. But there was also, see if I can remove that. An Australian senator came out too yesterday and talked about the same thing, about the hybrid beings, and that people were kidnapped from the trains coming up from Mexico when the migrants were coming through. People came up missing from there. Kids that come up missing and everything were all put into hybrid programs where supposedly they were manipulated and everything. And how do I want to put this? Their DNA was put with alien. So some of that stuff sounds really crazy, but in the research world, they're way ahead, just like militarily, way ahead of anything that would come out now.
Put these photos up. There's three of them.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can tell which is the lens flare in there, the blue in the middle of the yellow at the very bottom.
My daughter is a psychic medium, so she does that. She does a lot of readings for a lot of people. Look, pick the other one.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm just giving everybody a chance to look at them. But I've got pictures like the same thing like that too. And so
we got one more.
I know. You know what I think. I believe this stuff 100%. 100%.
Well, here's physical proof of it, just to show people. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's not that
Well,
you're talking out of your ass.
no, it's just like being clairsentient. You can be, audio, you can have the smell, you can have where you just know things and stuff like that too. And all of that would be coming from your energy because you have a human is an electric biofield. You'll feel that stuff. So it all makes sense.
Well, that's what I said. My daughter's a psychic medium, so I mean, she does a lot of readings and stuff like that. A lot of people won't believe in that, but she does very good. I mean, she could actually be like that woman Caputo there, but she doesn't believe in doing those big things. She likes to do personal readings because that she feels like she's stealing money from people.
I gotta be honest with you, I'd be scared to death to go to a psychic.
Well, they're pretty good. They like say if you're not
anybody else,
somebody,
but I'm I'd be scared to death to go to that because two things. One, obviously, there's some people that are frauds, right? Whatever, right?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No.
So if you go to somebody that's a fraud or whatever, and you obviously, you're maybe doing decisions based on that, or I'd just be scared.
Well, people give a lot of money to these crazy people, these psychics, because they say, well, you got to give me another $1,000 if you want me. There's some evilness around you. You want to be protected. But what she does is, she helps people reach peace. All right, take it easy.
Bye, Sean.
Bye.
Bye, guys. George, I'll see you. Tracy, I'll see you. In my opinion, it was a good show today.
In my opinion, watch the Orbs. Don't bang into any Orbs you haven't noticed.
Bye-bye.
All right, see you tomorrow.
Bye.
But yeah, but that stuff is like what you're saying. It's true. People do have the ability. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about what I know, but it does happen, and you will see people because you're a being of energy. So when you say you saw a ghost, a lot of the times I believe that. I believe you're able to be, because the world is multidimensional. You're living maybe 3 or 4 lives at exactly the same time, but on a different dimension with a different outcome. So they've already proven that every choice you make in this lifetime will reverberate back into the past and reverberate into the future and change your life path. So words carry meaning like that. Words carry energy. And so it's really important when you speak too, that your intentions when you're speaking are not evil, because you'll have really bad outcomes. So that's what I wanted to say. Probably freaking everybody out today on this stuff. But
no, it's not freaking out. It's not that it's not there.
It's there.
It's there. There's plenty of things out there people don't have an answer for. I mean, if you really study the Bible the way people should study the Bible, they would get different messages from it. And don't forget, the Bible was written, I think, 10 times over in different translations. So, you don't know what actually they saw and everything else. I mean, all the events did take place. They people are saying, oh, the Noah's Ark was bullshit, and then they found the Noah's Ark. I mean, every time people say it's bullshit, it comes to pass. And then everybody thinks the Ark of the Covenant, there was only one. There was a bunch of them. There was a lot of the temples had the Ark of the Covenant in it. Mm-hmm. But everybody, because of the way somebody wrote it, they thought it was just one. And then they found out in Enoch and all that stuff that the ones that the Crusaders, when they went through and found all those missing books, they found out all the stuff. And the energy that people wrote about in the books, the changing of the sun, the moon, and the angels that would visit them and stuff like that.
Look at Medjugorje. Okay. Medjugorje has been going on for what, 40 years now? And supposedly the Virgin Mary appears in front of so many people. But if you go to Medjugorje and you are at all any skepticism or not a true believer, you will not see what everybody else sees. And my neighbors that live down the road go to Medjugorje. They've been there before. And I know somebody Tony Delacqua from Traverse City, he used to go when the sightings were really first starting happening. And he would talk about it like that. And it always came down where it would be, they would see an orb coming. The orb would come down, and as it got closer to the ground, it would always take a human form or show at least a human face or something. But that kind of thing is only going to reveal itself to you in a way that you're going to be comfortable with. Remember how in the Bible that when the angels would appear, they would always say, "Do not be afraid." Well, why do you think they would say do not be afraid? If they showed up in a regular human form, you wouldn't think anything of it. But for them to come as a form of energy, they would have to show you something that you're very familiar with, even if it would scare you.
Yeah,
So I think that's why I think it gives all of this so much credence, you know, that there's things we'll never know until we all pass, you know. So you can't say what's right and what's wrong, but you can put the information together and make an informed opinion, at least, of what you believe. And if you incorporate, you know, I wouldn't say structured religion. I think more incorporate spirituality into it, because the Catholic Church and a few other ones would say you're heretical and everything for talking like that. But I think they were taught a different way, and because religion then was used as a structure to maintain control on society, you know, so everybody wouldn't be going crazy. But there's a lot to it. You know, look at all the people that die, that look up from their deathbeds, and they start talking to people, and the people in the room don't see them, but you're crossing that veil, whatever you want to call it, where they're actually able to see people that had gone before them. And they always say, you know, it's family members, so they're appearing in some form. So that's why I always go back to that. It's, so, you know, the energy part of it. So I'm sorry that I rambled so long, but I thought it was interesting.
It was interesting.
Well, I know you and I talk about this stuff, you know, a lot, but it's not like I like talking about it, because a lot of people don't know some of this stuff, you know, and you can talk about it and you don't have to go to school.